Hello, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 9 of the Virtual Coffee Podcast. I'm Bekah, and this is a podcast that features members in the Virtual Coffee community. Virtual Coffee is an intimate group of developers at all stages of their coding journey, and they're here on this podcast sharing their stories and what they've learned. And we're here to share it with you. Here with me today is my co-host, Dan.
Thanks, Bekah. This is the final episode of Season 4, so as is traditional now, we have with us Kirk TK Shillingford himself. And, you know, you all know Kirk. He's a maintainer of Virtual Coffee and, longtime member and obviously a great person. And we're going to today, we're going to just talk a little bit about the last year, about what we've done in Virtual Coffee. We just wrapped up Hacktoberfest, and we are into our November monthly challenge, which we'll talk about a little bit. And we'll kind of just, hang out and chat for a while. It's a little bit different format than usual, but it's kind of a fun way to wrap up the season. And that's it.
So we're going to start this episode of the podcast like we start every Virtual Coffee with our name, where we're from, what we do, and a random check-in question. We hope you enjoy this episode. Today's random check-in question is, would you rather be able to run at 100 miles per hour or fly at 10 miles per hour? So I'm Bekah. I am a front-end developer from a small town in Ohio. And to fly at 10 miles per hour would be cool, but I'm terrified of flying. I don't like it at all. So I think I'm going to stay on the ground and I'm going to run 100 miles per hour.
All right. I am Dan. I do computer stuff from Cleveland. And I don't know. You get into these questions and then you start I need to know a little more details. The running 100 miles per hour sort of situation is okay, so if you ran 100, right now, one of us just started running 100 miles per hour, your shoes would explode instantly, Would your feet?
Would they? Is that true? Has that been tested?
I don't know about instantly, but they would. Well, I guess if you only ran for 30 seconds or something, then maybe that's fine, But if you ran 100 miles in your shoes at one time, maybe they'd be fine. They're not going to be able to do it twice. Shoes aren't built like that, So you'd have to get some special shoes.
Bare feet. This is what I'm talking about.
Bare feet.
Why you go in your bare feet? Get some calluses. Run your 100 miles an hour.
I think I'm still going to choose flying at 10 miles an hour. That's a faster pace than, a general run. It's not faster paced than a professional sprinter, but it is faster paced than any, sort of running in general. And so plus flying, you can cut corners, obviously. You can go, but you don't have to stick to,
go over mountains.
Right. Over mountains, over houses, over traffic jams, etc. So I'm doing flying. Plus I actually like heights and I like being able to see stuff, and even just being able to go straight up into the air and look around and then come back down. That'd be my jam. So I'm choosing the flying option.
All right, Kirk, what do you have?
Well, it's my turn. Hi, name's Kirk. Software developer from the Caribbean. There was no question here. It's 100% fly. There was no, any other option is silly.
All right. Everyone picks on me and these questions. I need to find better questions, I think.
The average human running speed is 10 to 15 miles per hour. So I could just fly as fast as I run now. And everywhere I live is hills, right? It's always hills. So if I had to run, I'm just zigzagging all the way down the mountain, whereas I could just fly straight down.
Right.
You can do just flight, it's flight.
Mm-hmm. 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 I'm with you.
You can take
if you
to stuff,
right. Look at any map directions, and the route to anywhere you go is all sorts of zigzags and curves and all that stuff, even on an interstate. But if you're flying, you don't have to worry about any of that. Right?
Well, roller coasters are fun, right? Because you go very fast up and down hills.
But you could still go on roller coasters.
That's the biggest roller coaster I've ever heard.
Right. feel like I lost, and this is an introduction question. Well, I suppose I'm going to try harder the rest of this podcast episode.
When like a pigeon just like smacks me and Dan in the face, we'll feel
Right,
a lot better. Like we'll really eat our words, you know?
Yeah. I'll run to you as quickly as possible so I can take you to the emergency room.
Yeah, but you can't run to Kirk because he's on an island. But we could fly.
If you're running 100 miles an hour, you can just run on water. That's scientifically
Can you?
proven.
I mean,
that's the speed at which you just stay on top of the water. I suppose if you got
99, I think maybe. So I've got a little
if you could
leeway.
run 100 miles per hour, probably you could like hang your feet over a boat and then kick. You know, like this is like in Incredibles, right? So it's like
got
the
leg
little kid
power.
comes,
Really, that's what it's about.
And he did skim across at least a small pond.
Mm-hmm.
So
you know, they're like, you pick this running, but like it won't help you with your favorite thing, which is box jumps.
Well, it will not help me to jump higher. I guess if you get a good running start, then maybe.
Oh, then you'll just crash into the box, though. Your momentum will
Why
be going.
am I going to crash into the
your
box?
momentum will be going forward. Well, all right. Well, then you'll fly over the box, I suppose.
So that's then I'm flying at 12 miles an hour and I beat you.
Full circle.
Welcome to all our new listeners out there. It's a podcast about developer communities.
And goodbye to all of our old listeners.
Nah, they know what they're in there for.
Yeah, that's true. I was honestly hoping for some sort of fantasy or comic book related questions so we could try to make Kirk cry, on air. But
Brian was here the last time and you didn't mention he's like the biggest Lord of the Rings like nerd fan. You could have totally,
that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have really poked at him for two.
I think Brian can get out of control pretty easily though. So we were trying to make this in the PG range.
That's true.
You did really well. It's never going to happen.
I only had to edit out like 3 curse words, I think. It's the first time we had to do that.
We had to make decisions about what was appropriate to say.
I found out for PG-13, you get 1 F-bomb.
Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain contexts you may not use it in. So how you use it also impacts whether or not you get that one. So, the more you know.
Valuable information.
Okay, so I thought today it would be good to, when we have virtual coffee every Tuesday and Thursday, we do, everybody comes into the big Zoom room and then we go into breakout rooms. And we usually have 8 to 10 people in the breakout rooms with a room leader and a note taker. And we always have a back pocket topic. And we do that to make sure that if nobody has something they want to talk about or bring up, that we go ahead and have something prepared. And so I pulled from our back pocket topics for this episode because I think it makes sense in the context of what we have been doing over the past couple of months. And so our back pocket topic that we have talked about before in virtual coffee with open source software, we talked about the most painful barriers to entry for open source contributions, how to reduce those barriers, and favorite open source repos to contribute to. And since we just wrapped up Hacktoberfest, I thought it would be good to jump into this and see what we've learned 2 years of doing Hacktoberfest initiatives with the community, if we've learned anything more about this or what we think. So who wants to get the conversation started?
I'll go. I think my biggest lesson, and it was a lesson that it took me a bit to learn the first time, right? And really solidified this last time, is that open source is, you use the phrase painful barriers to entry, right? And that barrier to entry exists for everybody that hasn't done it yet. And not just new developers, right? Experienced developers, people have been writing code, building websites, doing all this stuff for years and years and years. If they haven't up until they do it for the first time, they there's this barrier, and there's a whole world of you know unknowns, and that's been the biggest thing for me is the unknowns, and providing support for that, right, is kind of what I've what we've made our goal. There's technical things to know, there's all the Git stuff and merging and all that stuff. And then there's GitHub technical stuff on top of that, right? How pull requests actually work, and forking, which is a huge, ball of stuff to figure out. But then there's the social aspect of it, which I found personally to was my biggest barrier, getting into open source in the first place, was the sort of anxiety around, jumping into this thing with people you don't know. And even if I feel confident in my ability to write a piece of code or whatever it is, for the task, like there's still a large space of possibility to embarrass myself, for one thing, right? And how so figuring out how to find ways to contribute and how to be more comfortable with it, and it's honestly that we can write and talk about all the different possibilities and different things to look into, but let's just diving in is really it's like breaking the seal, kind of, right? It's like, once you start and doing it a little bit, it becomes much easier every time. So that's been my big lesson, is remembering that this is hard, and it's hard for anybody who hasn't done it before. It's hard it's still hard even if you have done it before, if you're trying to join a new project or whatever for the first time. But that's been the thing that's been in the back of my mind for all of our stuff that we've been doing. I feel like we've helped, but that's my main I don't know, lesson, I guess, that I think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're down for it.
When I saw those barriers too with some of my mentees, both of them I think were first time contributors, and one of them picked up an issue for a first timer, and it didn't go into the issue and describe the whole process that was required to even commit or to run the project. So she had to learn about Docker. She had to learn about test writing. And there were all of these things that I'm like, I am going to do my best to help you, but I've never done any of these things. And it's not spelled out in the issue either. And she really pushed through it and did an amazing job and reached out to their Discord community to get some help. But I just thought, wow, that's really overwhelming to jump into it. And the way that it was phrased seemed like it would be a fairly simple issue, and it turned out to be really in depth and required a lot of different pieces that weren't laid out in the issue. And so just like that, like those kinds of things are always something that I am surprised by, especially for in repositories that have a lot of people contributing, not having the clearly written documentation. It continually surprises me.
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I do wish that there was a better standardization of the language, but I feel like part of it is, you know, even we're doing reviews for PRs and issues coming in, but then there's that question of, who reviews the reviewer. So it's, if you're a person submitting a pull request, then someone will take a look at it and give feedback and give comments. But if you're the person writing the issue, do you get that same treatment? And I think it really highlights we discovered that when contributing as a solo endeavor, it's just way, way harder for all these reasons, right? But when maintaining as a solo endeavor, it's also super difficult because it's not like someone's born with an intimate knowledge about how to present issues for people to fix. And if you don't have a support structure or you don't have people who can review your work, I feel like it's just so much more likely that these things happen, and the maintainer might not even know. They're like, oh, this is enough context to solve this problem. And it might take us someone else, but like, it's enough context given. And then there's a list of givens. Given this person understands Docker, given this person understands Git, given this person understands our code base. And there's like a whole, but yeah, I think like my big takeaway was just that um community helps, but community helps at like every stage, and we did encounter a lot of maintainers who were like, hey, I don't even know if my project is inviting. Is this welcoming or not? What should I be doing? And even internally in VC, you always feel better if at least one other person has a chance to just, even if you think like, well, I know what I'm doing, it's just good to get someone else to look, yeah, that looks good. Or I think that's a good idea. Or maybe tweak this. Like it helps so much. So I feel like that was the big takeaway. And last year we were like, oh, it takes a lot of work to do this. And like this year, it's still like, oh, it does. Like, I don't know. And this year was amazing, but it just sort of like reinforced how much effort is required. And like, I think at DigitalOcean, they've put in a lot of work. They updated the site. They took some feedback from last year. They made changes. They had a fact, like they went all in, but there were still gaps. And that's not like they didn't do a lot. It's like, there's still just so much here, because ultimately we're telling people, hey, you should try to contribute to a project in the tech space. And the tech space is massive. And it's almost impossible to find somebody who has exactly the right set of tools to completely help you through something. So it's this weird mishmash of documentation, community support, response time from the maintainers, access to resources, and hopefully it all comes together in a way that someone can make a contribution and feel like they've done some good quality work. But it's so easy for one of those, at least one, to be missing. And then, that resistance that Dan describes, just like, then it's like, if I'm not sure I can do a good job on this, I'm not getting paid for this. Like, I'm not making mistakes for free. So I think that's like my takeaway.
Yeah, I would say that's my other the main thing, especially that solidified this year also, was the other side of it, like coming from the maintainer's perspective. And, part of it is what I was saying was like, learning that all this stuff is hard and trying to make your repository, open and available and welcoming for an entire audience of, an entire spectrum of technical level and, experience, all that stuff is really, really hard. It's a hard balance to strike. And, if you're a maintainer of a project, do you take on the responsibility of teaching every single potential contributor how to use Git, for instance, or how to use anything, how to use Docker, you know what I mean? You would the bare minimum honestly would be whatever command, like I imagine, Bekah, the one that the project you were talking about, like had some just like, oh, install Docker and then run this command, and then move on. Right. Like that would be, and that like, that assumes some amount of knowledge and ability to download things and configure things. And also assumes that you remembered all of the stuff you did when you set up the project, right? Which is like very hard, to do. And then I think, Kirk, what you said was what, like you run into as a maintainer, lots of times somebody might try to contribute, have a problem, not be able to find an answer and give up, and you'll never know. Right. Yeah. You'll never know about it. And so that is like one of the reasons why we wanted to try to provide support for maintainers, and we did last year and this year, and it is helping maintainers, provide information for their repositories and get some extra sets of eyes just on, okay, like what does a person actually have to do to install this, on their computer? What happens if they're on Windows? You know, like all this stuff. And maintainers like don't have time. Most maintainers don't have time for any of that stuff. You know, it's so hard to do. And so that's the other side of it. And it's like I would honestly, you know, I've been thinking recently in you know, in my own retrospective about Hacktoberfest, about whether we should maybe have a maintainer, like an OSS maintainer thing that's not Hacktoberfest, you know, because it's so hard for us to, um, you know, we have lots of people that were excited about contributing, and it was amazing, you know, and I feel like we, in preparing for all of that, you know, could have, I mean, we could spend a whole month just on helping people,
I mean, we kind
you
of
know,
do,
well,
in with
yeah, yeah,
September, we have a whole
right,
list, but I
right.
mean, I'm right there with you. I think, providing very active support to maintainers, because I think that, especially if you're a first time maintainer, you don't realize the amount of work that goes into writing a good issue or having the documentation or the labels and stuff that you need. And then,
Yeah.
there's not real clear instructions for what that looks like either. So
Yep.
that,
And
yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
And it'll look different depending on your project. And, you know, if it's like Kirk has the Quarto game, right? And so that's like its own sort of, uh, it's a game, right? You know, so you can download it, install it, and run it and all that stuff. And, but some people have projects that are packages, you know, that are dependencies for other things, you know, and so that like how much, like if you make a React component, for instance, as an open source thing, and there's a million examples of that out there, you know, how much like teaching about React do you put into your documentation for your thing? You know, it reminds me of, we talked with Jessica,
Mhm.
I guess this will be a couple weeks ago when this one comes out. And, you know, she does a really good job writing articles. And we talked a lot about, how to like set that level of, um, expectations for when you're reading. Which in her case, it was tutorials, things like tech articles, but it applies, I think, to documentation too. You know, and so one of the things she tries to do is either if she's not going to deep dive into everything, you know, she'll add some steps of prerequisites, she calls them, at the beginning of the article, and I think that's a great resource, you know, to do, and I've been thinking about a lot of applying to documentation as well, right? So prerequisites for this package, you know, read about React or whatever, you know, uh, this package depends on the use effect hook. Here's like 3 blog posts about it or something like that, you know, for example, you
Yeah,
know,
I feel like, I mean, you can even make that an issue for somebody,
yeah,
right?
right.
To add that to your documentation. How does somebody get here from different levels, or
No,
what are the resources people could use?
yeah, absolutely. And we say, you know, lots of times it's one of those like, I don't know, tricky teachery answers, but you know, oh, like I couldn't figure out how this project works. And then I figured it out. And so somebody would just say, okay, well, make a pull request and fix the docs. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. It always feels snarky, you know, saying that to somebody who's still learning and new to this, but improved documentation is one of those things that, um, maintainers, I think, will almost always welcome, you know, at least welcome the discussion. And, I don't know. And
I added a number of issues, I think, to
uh,
repos this year for that
yeah,
documentation issue,
yeah,
and told other people to do it too, and said, hey, you are stuck on this. So somebody else who wants to contribute will be stuck on it as well. If you raise an issue and somebody takes on the documentation, then you're helping the next people that are coming to work on this project, and enriching the community. And, I just hope that those kinds of things get raised too, and recognizing you can add an issue without having to do the PR yourself,
yes,
but just making people aware, because sometimes if you've been in it for so long, it's hard to remember that you
yep,
have to go through all of these steps.
yep, absolutely. How were those received? Those were on other people's projects?
Yeah, so I got a
Yeah.
couple of messages just asking for a little bit more clear. Some of them were just like, I I need to put this down. I was doing them from my phone, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but I do use the GitHub app a lot. And so, talking through, okay, well, these are the things, like, and some were as simple as, it would be really helpful if you had a form for issues. So you can select the different type of issue just to make it clearer, to add labeling really quickly and for people to look through things. And so, some were receptive, some didn't respond. And, I did my best to improve documentation this
Yeah.
year.
Well, there's only so much you can do as a individual contributor, and we've all said it, but it's a lot of work as a maintainer. And so if you make a issue or make a pull request and it doesn't, I don't know, it just gets ignored or whatever, you just got to remember that there's people on the other end, and I don't know, it's hard lots of times.
Yeah.
But
I think, well, the context of, this is people donating their free time, attempting to help people donating their free time can it works both ways. It's sort of like, it's good to keep empathy when you're dealing with someone who is maybe like confused or has like a lot of questions. Cause like, hey, this person's like literally trying to help me for free. And it works the other way, because sometimes, I will send a message to a repo maintainer and they won't respond. And then I'll literally be there like, also this is like not their job. And it's also not my job. Like we give it a shot. And then like ultimately, which is, I think, why it's such a valuable thing for developers at all levels. It's a very low stakes way to do something good, to get more experience, to build community, to, explore spaces you'd like to try before, like that. And, that's our motivation. We genuinely think that contributing to open source is a good thing to do, or at least to try. There's many things like I would not have the opportunity necessarily to have done in like workplaces, but that's okay because I can do it in an open source environment. I can still get that practice and that experience. But, that's the key thing is like, we're trying to do our best. Everyone's trying. So like, if people can't, or they have to take, it's almost like being a jerk, like don't be a jerk. If you're listening out there, don't be a jerk. Yeah, you. No, not you. You. But it's also okay to say, hey, I have a lot on my plate right now, or this is a little overwhelming, or I don't have the bandwidth for it. A couple of my mentees were like, hey, this is actually a super busy month for me. I'm like, it's okay. Like these repos will be around after Hacktoberfest. I'll be around after Hacktoberfest. Like the PR is just as good in any month. This month is like it gets the community going, but like people no one in virtual cog is going to be like, ask me next year, So I think like that's also like important too. I especially say that as somebody who spent a lot of time this month. Like I didn't get to submit many things to other repos, not as much as I wanted to, but
yeah,
it's okay.
no, it is okay. And it's like, yeah, we make this push based on Hacktoberfest and DigitalOcean because they do this thing and it's very fun, and it's cool to get the challenge completed if you want, but it's also, like we've said, on both sides of on both sides of it, it's people spending their free time working on other things for free. So it's all good,
I was thinking we
go
should
ahead, Becca.
probably do one in July too.
July, October. Well, we'd have to come up with a different name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But
Joel Over.
this is why. So it's so popular now, it can be really hard to find good issues because they just get taken so quickly. And that's one of the biggest frustrations I see with a lot of people who are new to open source.
Yeah.
I mean, we need somebody who will back the t-shirts and the sticker packs and mail them, because we all know that I will not
you
mail them.
Mail anything. You
I'm forbidden from mailing things. Then there's less of maybe there's just different months for Hacktoberfest, right? This month is devoted to new contributors or first-time contributors, and this month is devoted for someone who has been a developer for a while, but hasn't contributed before. I don't know, just
Yeah.
like breaking it down so it seems less of like a race to get things done, because I felt the same, Kirk. I really wanted to make some what I felt were meaningful contributions, and I didn't get there, and I still want to, but it was just, trying to support other people. And then I think I spent an hour and a half one day looking at issues. I'm like, okay, I don't have time to look for an issue for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I think that's, in the vein of takeaways, that is the thing that I think as a community, as a tech community, we underestimate. It's like, yeah, just find an issue and grab it. That's a non-trivial process, unless you are fortunate to enough to like know someone like, hey, here's a great issue. And they like, hand it to you. But even then you still have to familiarize yourself. Like it's still an entire software project. And if it's open source, like a, like a meaningful software project, like it's doing a real thing that you have to familiarize yourself with. It's someone else's work. And no matter how much we say, you do want to do a good job. So, and that just takes time. And I think it takes time in a way that, like, I feel like it's very difficult to say, okay, I'm going to work on this PR and I'm going to do 10 minutes every day. Like, it's not like meditation. Like you probably, it's like, this is going to take me it's a couple hours to sit with this problem and then some time to make the solution and then to get the PR out. Um, and I don't know if there's a good solution for that. I think in our community, we did a lot of consolidation, which I like. A lot of people were like, hey, this repo seems to have some good resources and we would get that all in a central place. And then of course, there are people in the organization who have repositories and, can like, people can say like, hey, do you have an issue? And we can make sure I'll make sure there's one for you. And that's a nice way too, but I don't know if that is scalable to the larger OSS initiative. We still run into the issues of what does newbie mean? Is it just new to open source? Is it new to programming? Is it new to the Git commit PR lifecycle? And where does that fall? So yeah, it's complex and it's hard and everyone's trying, but I do think that maybe trying to do all of that in the 30 days it's a challenge. And I'm even thinking it's like September for Hacktoberfest, but like maybe there's like a bunch of different preps. I would almost want to do the maintainer stuff like a month or two even before that. Like, hey, do you want to be a maintainer for a project? And we just spend a month getting people like set up there. And we talk about like healthy patterns and schedules and getting the docs up to date. And because I could spend a month just working on good issues. And I think that's what I maybe wanted like next time. And next time I need to take an entire month with my project. Like my job is just every few days or once a week, write some more good issues. Because I think for the maintainer, that is probably the largest time sink. It's just having the good issues available. And then you can spend the actual month kind of focused on getting people over the finish line. But you have enough time to get reviews and ask for help and get some feedback. So like, hey, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it does seem like having a whole open source quarter of the year would make sense to develop those skills. I like it.
Hack order year. Nope. That's not it. We can workshop the name.
If anybody has suggestions, you can email us at podcast@virtualcoffee.io.
Yeah. I mean, writing issues takes forever. That is the other problem. I spent hours writing issues for our site. And I think over the 2 months, probably wrote 20 issues and they all took a long time. They all got done or are in the process of being done. But that's still just 20, and we had I mean, we
Oh,
had lots of people wanting
yeah,
to be
Dan, what are
involved
the
in.
stats? I
Oh, well, so
forgot. We should
I
have
was,
started that.
yeah, no, we, I thought about that and then we didn't, but then, might as well. I mean, like I have this pulled up. So now would be a good time. We could do a little Hacktoberfest, results. So
Yeah, let's do it.
so for virtual coffee members, right, we had 100 members sign up, including contributors and, um, mentors and maintainers. And
Nice.
of those, 100, at least 66 members had merged at least one pull request, in October, and collectively, merged 336 pull requests across 129 different repositories in the month of October. And that's just our members, which is just incredible. I'm like still astounded by it. And so some of those, like this is not checking against Hacktoberfest, rules or whatever. And I know that there are some that can be, probably merged in November would still count and all that stuff. So there's probably even more, that is to say. On the Virtual Coffee IO site, which is an open source project, and I was sort of leading and maintaining this month. In October, we had 81 pull requests merged, in the month of October, and so 50 of those are, we had our new like member profile set up, and so members could either, add or update their information on our site. So 50 of those were those, and then we had 31 pull requests that were, not that new features or fixes and all that stuff. And that also is just an enormous number, and it's really cool, very very cool. AU had like four different issues merged, or pull requests merged in October. She did some really good accessibility work. Todd Libby also did some good accessibility features. So our site is, I don't know, it has vastly improved accessibility features now, which is awesome. Abby did a really cool style update that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and I very appreciate that. Matt McInnes actually did some good tooling updates for us, added Prettier, which I've been also wanting to do for a long time. And that was a huge pull request because he, basically formatted every file in the whole site. And we worked together for a long time, and he was very patient with me because I get picky with some things.
You do.
And it was great. And he added some VS Code stuff, which was really cool. And we had a bunch of other different kind of features and fixes and documentation updates. And a lot of our content is in GitHub, so there was people doing writing for us or updating documentation. It was really cool. So I feel like we succeeded both as the community for the general virtual coffee Hacktoberfest initiative, and also as a maintainer of this project. We made a lot of progress, and it was really cool. So I was excited about that. It's a fun month. It's a lot of work. That's 81 pull requests that we had merged and all that stuff. So it's good stuff. So that was our sort of high level summary.
Yeah, and I think in addition, this month was just really awesome in terms of the community, I think, supporting each other. We got heavy use out of Hacktoberfest co-working room, heavy use out of helping pairing, just a lot of people being willing to help each other out on setups and installs. Had a lot of Git questions are being answered by people in the community. It was just like just all around a team effort. I think really good to see. So, that was great. If we could just do that in tech everywhere, it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, agreed. It does bring into focus all the stuff we've been talking about, like how much kind of support can be needed, especially to get started. But it's good stuff. It was a good month. It was fun.
Yeah.
As soon as we do Hack Quarter, it'll be even cooler.
Heck Fest Quarter.
Hack Festivus.
Bekah, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're doing this month?
Yeah, sure. So this marks 1 year of monthly challenges. So last November, we came off of Hacktoberfest and we were like, let's start doing monthly challenges and have lightning talks, which was we were very exhausted after that month. So this year we are not doing lightning talks in November, but we are continuing with monthly challenges. We're doing the same one that we started off with last year, which November is National Novel Writing Month. We talked about this in Jessica's episode, but we're all working together where our goal was 50,000 words to write in our tech blogs and hit 50,000 words. And we are past that point. Today is November 15th. So we're halfway through the month and we have surpassed our goal. And so we upped it to, I think, 100,000 now, right?
Yeah, that's stretch goal 150. 100,000. So we did our challenge, I think on the 12th or the 13th, something like that.
Going into Friday, we hadn't hit it yet because I posted in Slack and I said, who's writing? Can we get to 50,000 by Monday? And it was before today that we hit it. But it's just been so fun to watch the monthly challenges. Some of them have worked out really well and been great. Others have not. But the nice thing is, some of those monthly challenges were scrambling at the end of the month last year to try and get something together because it was new to us. And we were trying to figure out how can we make something that everyone can participate in at any stage of their tech journey. And so trying to make it open to everybody and have folks be interested. Sometimes it just was difficult to do, but now we have a solid set of challenges that we'll go ahead and repeat. And we're working on this cycle of what that should look like. So I'm really excited to see how these play out in the next year as we go through 11 more challenges and see how we can get the community involved and get them excited. Obviously, they're excited about this one. They were excited. Last month, we did use Hacktoberfest as our monthly challenge. And so we're going on a string of a lot of people being really excited about the things that we're doing. And, Kirk, you've put a ton of time and effort into the monthly challenges too. So what are you excited about?
So many things. It's just nice to be, I think, it's nice to have like comparison data. I feel like 2020 was a lot of, well, guess we're doing this,
Structured YOLO.
Yeah. Sort of like, I guess I'm a member of this community. Oh, am I a maintainer?
Just kept pulling you in for more.
Yeah. Also, yeah, like this time when you're like, hey, should we do the lightning talks again after Hacktoberfest? And we were like, no, we should not, because we have learned lessons from the last time.
Yep, we learned them.
Yeah. So, it's nice to have like a year of feedback, right? We have a year of challenge feedback. We have a star-studded cast of VC members who are now also supporting us on these, right? And I'm looking forward to as we get towards the end of the year, just like going back and appreciating all the stuff that we've done, because I think we've done a lot. And I think that, like the real spirit kind of like started all this is still here and still strong. But also a good chance to, take stock and go, okay, like what did work and why, what didn't work and why. And we can maybe, we can get like even better at things. And I think that's what I'm excited about, like even with this time of Hacktoberfest, it's like, okay, well, we know what went right the last time. We said, hey, what went right? Let's do more of that, and we were like, hey, what was a little wonky? It's like, well, let's see if we can shore that up. And then we get to do that again. So each time we get sort of like better and better. And, we spend most of our time going, this is tomorrow. And more time, going, what are we going to do in 3 months? It's the same energy, just like a different time frame, And so hopefully by the end of it, we're just like cruising, flying at 10 miles an hour instead of like frantically running at 100 miles an hour, just
It's obviously the better situation to be in.
way better. Just a leisurely fun.
I think maybe that captures something deeper.
Real quick, I just wanted to shout out, Kirk mentioned having help with monthly challenges, and two of our members, Orly and Andrew, have been leading it. So we created a monthly challenge team, and they've been doing a lot of work helping with the same thing, helping plan and execute these challenges for the last, I don't know how long, a few months at least. And it's been really awesome to have community members, excited about creating, helping create these and brainstorm and do all the work that goes involved, like all the work that's involved with putting these together. And, it's been neat. So I just wanted to say thanks real quick.
Yeah. I mean, even kind of beyond the challenges, just having this expanded group, I think, of trusted community members who we can rely on for feedback, for support, for encouragement, for just like really solid insights, I know for all of us, there's like people just like, oh, I need to talk to this person. I need to talk to that person. They're always like there and they always give great advice. And, I feel like even where the community is now is as much a result of, those people as it is like, like our job is to just like get the good advice and, maybe like condense it and maybe make some priorities. But that's been a big help and I think like a big relief. And none of this would be happening, I think, if I didn't know like, oh, I can turn to these folks and really be with a group of people who have the same interests that I do, which is just like making this community as awesome a place as possible. So this also feels like the year for that, even more than before. And it's awesome.
Yeah. And going along with what both of you said, Kirk, you were talking about feedback earlier. And we've been working on feedback, but it's one of those things that I know that I have to deliberately make time for it because it feels like I like moving forward quickly. And sometimes stopping to do retros like that can be hard because it doesn't feel like you're moving forward. And taking the time to do that really ensures that you have the energy to continue moving, and it helps you focus on the other people who are on your team and thinking about like, okay, well, how can I better support people to be doing more of these things or to contribute in ways that are meaningful to them. And so, moving forward over the next, 11 or 12 months, just really trying to make sure that I take the time to do that is something that I don't know that I would say I'm excited for it, but I am happy to be building that into part of my own process, to make sure that we continue to support the people who have supported us.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm very proud to say that a significant portion of the people who like plan these events and help out in this community have ADHD or, we're a big neurodiverse group, I think. And we make it work and we, try and focus on our strengths and we encourage each other when we're having like the not great brain days. So yeah, we should write a book about, no, we should not. We are not.
Oh God, don't say that where she can hear that.
It's NaNoWriMo. We've got 2 weeks left.
Listen.
We can all put it together. We've got this. Everybody can just write 100 words. Look,
yeah,
we can be inspired by Ray's morning pages. If everybody writes morning pages.
Bekah, you're making a lightning talk book. This is what you're doing. We agreed.
Yeah.
We agreed not to do this in November.
We
No,
should get a really
it's a
passive
book that we
aggressive.
agreed not to do lightning talks. We didn't agree not to write a
See,
lightning
she's
talk
working, she's trying
book.
to work her way
If you
around the
write
rules.
the first half, I'll write the other half. See, no, I shouldn't even say that because you and Brian Healing take everything as a challenge. I was going to say we should be really passive aggressive, like when Wikipedia was doing like their funding drive. It was like, you could just give me $3. Like, just you've been using this for like a decade. If you just give me $3, you garbage. You know, you write 140
Oh, God.
characters, like 10 times a day in your tweets. You can give me 100 words. We could be like that, and then no one
See?
would talk to us. Don't say tweet. That was an example of what not to do.
Oh. It's gonna use that.
Oh, man.
Oh.
For those listening who wonder what our planning meetings are like, we usually schedule an hour, and it takes about 20 minutes to get this out.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten better at it, or at least one person will always be okay. Actually, we haven't had a planning meeting in a while. Probably why.
I think like it's only because like at least one person has like a follow-up meeting. So
Right. Yeah. We've all just gotten busier is I think the problem. So there's more hard deadlines.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do a really good job of async communication for the most part. And so
Yeah.
we're all, we have pretty good processes and structures that are in place to allow us to do that and to know like somebody's taking care of that or somebody else is on top of this other thing. And so we are very good at being a remote and async team.
yes,
Just would like to put that out there.
we do not have a choice though. I mean, and this year has been, first of all, as one of my coworkers said, the last 2 years have been weird. But it has been a pretty big year of change for the community. So many people transitioning to new roles in their life, professional and otherwise. And it really has, like, a lot of people have been, new ventures. And we've all like tried, and not just the maintainers, but like everyone has sort of like tried to still be present and still be supportive even through all these things happening, which, like we also do appreciate. A lot of members will be like, they'll reach out and be like, hey, I haven't been around in a while, but it's not because I've forgotten. I've just been doing this. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's like, you should settle into your new job. You should take care of the new baby, but like, that's okay. We're here, and, it's a place where people are always happy for your achievements, and you get to make it back. We're always happy to see you. So it's cool.
And I feel like this is a hot topic for me right now, but I think that there's such a focus on people providing support to large groups and people that have 100,000 followers or members or whatever. And I really think that the impact that gets made in tech, that gets passed on, that gets rippled through the industry happens in small groups. And it makes me mad anytime somebody says, oh, why would we give support to a small group because we don't get the same audience? Like you get much more than that audience, right? You get every person that was affected by that community who goes out into the tech community and spreads that same positivity and empathetic approach and support. And I think that if you're looking to make change with your support, with your money, with whatever, then you find those communities that are doing good, intimate group development, support, that kind of stuff. And that's where the impact is made. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about this before, and this is like we have stuck pretty strongly with that, exact mentality. The word audience is something we'd never ever use, never even think to use, with virtual coffee stuff, right? Because I don't know, it's not that sort of thing. And there's a lot of community resources, you're right, that are based from that standpoint of all of these people are an audience, or followers or whatever, right? That's not us. Oh,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
there's an article. I'll post it in the show notes. I'll find it. But the one of the first lines was the difference between a community and audience is the way the chair is facing. And I thought that did a really nice job of kind of framing. Are all the chairs facing you? Are you on a platform where people are listening to you? Is there engagement? Or, I like to talk about the coffee table method of virtual coffee. Like we're all sitting around a table together. Everybody is equal in the room. Everybody has the opportunity to talk and participate. It's not me talking at you or you talking at me. And that's how change is made.
except for if you're sitting and listening to this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, in this moment right now, you are
Right.
in fact the
Yeah.
audience right now. As soon as the podcast is over, then like,
But
Yeah,
everybody's invited to come to virtual coffee.
right. No, it's just joking. No, it is. And that's the thing that makes virtual coffee, good. And it's the reason I enjoy it so much is that fact, right? It's not something that any of us are talking at, so it's good stuff.
yeah. And I think even the freedom sometimes it can be very freeing to listen, and, a lot of members tell us like some days you don't want to chat, you don't want to be sort of like the center. And it's just nice I just want to hang out in this room. I just want to listen to my friends. I just want to like hear the voices. Happens in the co-working room as well. Sometimes people just pop in. They're like, hey, I got, what to do. I just wanted to pop in, say hi to my friends. There's no real way to monetize hellos. Well, I'm sure as I say this, there's probably some like hello.js, which is revolutionizing the way we send whatever. But, so yeah.
Oh, hey, there's no hello.js, so you better grab that up real quick.
Ooh, Roger Gentry, if you're listening, Roger will instantly get that domain for us if we ask people.
Wait, I might be lying, actually. I take it back. There may be a hello.js package. I'm not sure what you use it for. So somebody else can explore that. Sorry. What a
So
disappointing way to end the episode. Should I
So
read
you're-
a dad joke? Is that a better way to
All right. One
Please
dad.
no.
One
one
dad
dad
joke.
joke? All right, let's
One
see here.
with a good one. It's gotta be.
Ugh. Oh no.
Uh,
Sorry.
Great. Yeah.
Just trying to find the best one. There's so much pressure now.
For those of you.
Okay, here we go.
Oh,
Why should you avoid the restaurant on the moon?
Why?
You don't even want to think about it?
If it's a joke, is it a joke or a riddle?
I
I was supposed to solve it, or
Yes. I mean, don't people try and solve
like,
them?
okay.
it's like trying to do
So
jokes with my
this
kids.
is
They just don't understand the format.
hiring situation. This is the question, Dan. If you get it right, you get to move on to round 14 of 37.
Yeah. I'm out.
Because it doesn't have a good atmosphere.
You really
Doesn't
should
he
have
put me on the
stopped
spot?
something
Really, I had to
5
try
minutes
really
ago.
fast.
This one was on me. I
Yeah.
encouraged this.
You encouraged this
Danny,
one,
we
Kirk.
should have
This-
both
Oh,
blown
where
away
does
at
Bruce
the mile
Wayne
an
go
hour.
to use the toilet?
Now I don't know if I'm supposed to solve it or am I supposed to just, play the part where I
just
say, I don't know
want to
what.
solve it. I guess I do jokes wrong. To the bat room.
Oh,
We can edit all of this out.
you guys,
right?
I gotta
No,
go.
are you going to edit out the jokes?
Oh man,
Well,
this is good.
this is the end of the podcast. So thank you all for listening to 4 seasons of the Virtual Coffee Podcast. We're
Please,
going for 6 seasons in a movie, right?
Please stay subscribed.
I promise to have better jokes next time.
We may not be the podcast you need, but we're the podcast you deserve.
I think this is This is probably it. We
Yeah,
should
this is probably it. So
wrap.
we'll be back. I think in the new year, right? For our next season. So, in the meantime, keep coming to Tuesday, Thursday, virtual coffees, and I'll see all of you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Virtual Coffee Podcast. This episode was produced by Dan Ott and Bekah Harrod-Weigel and was edited by Andy Bonjour at Good Day Communications. If you have questions or comments, you can hit us up on Twitter at virtualcoffee.io or email us at podcast@virtualcoffee.io. You can find the show notes, sign up for our newsletter, check out any of our other resources on our website at virtualcoffee.io. And of course, join us for our virtual coffee chats every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe to our podcast and be sure to leave us a review. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.